If the telcos don't make this jump, there's going to be a reckoning in this industry. And the telcos' window for making that jump is continuing to narrow.
Welcome to TBR Talks, decoding strategies and ecosystems of the globe's top tech firms, where we talk business model disruption in the broad technology ecosystem, from management consultancies to systems integrators, hyperscalers to independent software vendors, telecom operators to network and infrastructure vendors, and even chip manufacturers to value-added resellers. We'll be answering some of the key intelligence questions we've heard from executives and business unit leaders among the leading professional services, IT, and telecom vendors. I'm Patrick Heffernan, Principal Analyst, and today we'll be talking about takeaways from Mobile World Congress 2024 with Chris Antlitz, Principal Analyst for TBR's Telecom practice. If you'd like to watch the conversation instead of just listening, visit the TBR page on YouTube. So, Chris, you were just at Mobile World Congress in Barcelona. Tell us all about it.
Well, MWC was a lot of the same, but a little bit of new.
Okay.
And we were expecting the key topics to be AI,
Right.
GenAI,
Right.
private networks. We were expecting to hear a lot about network APIs, and we did.
Mm-hmm.
I think what the biggest takeaway for me was how little we heard about some of the other things that you would expect to hear at an event like that, specifically around 5G Advanced, and 6G. We heard very little about that in the content sessions and in the conversations with people at the booths. It was very interesting.
This was your fourth Mobile World Congress.
Yep.
And that's surprising to me to hear you say 5G and 6G was not really spoken about much. So was it that GenAI just drowned out all the other conversations, or were there other things that came up, or why would you say that happened?
I think that's part of it, but I think it underscores the problem that is pervasive in the industry, but that people increasingly don't really want to talk about. And that is, where's the ROI from the cellular technology?
Oh, right.
And there's still no answer for that from a telco perspective.
Right.
And it's telling that so little was talked about with that. Network APIs is great, but you don't need 5G for that.
Mm-hmm.
The AI is great, but you can do that without the cellular technology there.
Right.
And it was concerning.
Let's circle back to that at the end. It's always good to end with something really concerning. The positives, though, around generative AI, what did you hear that sort of caught your attention there on that particular topic?
Yeah, so I heard a lot of use cases for AI that make sense and that can bring ROI relatively quickly.
Okay.
And it's not just GenAI, it's also more broadly AI.
Right.
And the biggest areas of impact for telco is going to be in the call center and in the customer journey. And when I say customer journey, I'm really talking about how it implicates the OSS and BSS systems.
Okay.
And some of the use cases I heard make a lot of sense. They don't require a huge lift, and the cost savings is very significant. So from an AI perspective, this is one of the good things for the telcos is there's legitimate ways that the telcos can save a significant amount of money, really move the needle on their OpEx.
Right. Move the needle on their OpEx, but it's still the question where the revenue is going to come from. The other side of it, right. Okay. So were there particular players that stood out? I mean, either as a group of players, or I know we've spoken before about where the hyperscalers fit in. So were they a standout presence, or was something different there this year?
So they were all there.
Yeah.
But I noticed this time compared to last year, they had a more subtle presence at the event. So last year they had big flashy advertisements all over the venue. They were sponsoring everything, it seemed.
Yeah.
They had representatives all over the place in the panels, in the other content sessions, the keynotes. And they were still there this year, and they had the big booths and everything, but it just seemed like they weren't as in your face. They were much more subtle in the presence. And I thought that was interesting.
Why do you think they made that choice? And why do you think they all made that choice too? That's kind of curious.
Yeah, I'm not sure. There's a couple of possible responses to that.
Yeah.
One is that the telcos are not bringing the revenue that the hyperscalers thought in terms of the cloud transformation story.
Right. Okay.
And that's not going particularly well. So I think that might have impacted budgets maybe for the hyperscalers. I think that the AI kind of the pervasiveness of it at the event. They knew that there was going to be a lot of talk about them anyway.
Right.
So maybe they figured maybe we don't need to go as big on the budgeting for this event. Everybody kind of knows what their position is in the market and what they can help with. So it's like the buzz marketing is so strong for them. Maybe they didn't need to go much bigger on the budgeting for that. All those could be a possibility. The other thing is there's still a lot of concerns that the frenemy relationship the hyperscalers have with the operators and with the vendors could move more towards that enemy side over time. And I think that kind of lingers in the air still as a possibility, as a very real possibility. And I think that also they might not have wanted to be too flashy at the event. I think all those things, that's just my contemplating of it.
Yeah.
But who knows the real reason?
But having gone over again, it was your fourth one. So having seen the way the hyperscalers have changed their profile at it, it's interesting that they've backed off. So GenAI, the number one technology we talked about, all the other technology, and you mentioned 5G, but some of the other technologies that have been hyped up in years past. So metaverse, blockchain, crypto, IoT. I don't know what else bubbled up to the surface this time, or was it all just drowned out?
AI was everywhere.
Yeah.
And network APIs were a big topic, talking point. Metaverse, crypto, blockchain, almost no mention of it. The only time I heard about metaverse was if it was part of a joke. Now, I do want to be clear.
That warms my soul a little bit to hear that, but that's all right.
The metaverse, the way I think of it is put a pin in it.
Yeah.
It's going to come back.
Yeah.
We're not ready yet as an industry for that to really take off, but don't count it out.
Yeah.
That is
I'd agree with you on that. Yeah.
That's going to make a big comeback.
Yeah. How about blockchain, and crypto, not much mentioned. What about quantum?
Quantum, there was some talk about quantum.
Yeah.
The quantum ecosystem is actually advancing quite a bit. That was interesting to see. Went to one of the keynotes that really talked about it and the breakthroughs that they're having there. 2035 is a key milestone year that the industry is kind of looking towards, where at that time frame, that relative time frame, quantum computing is really going to start transforming industries. And the takeaway was from the consultancies and from the people that are working on the technology is every major organization needs to have a quantum strategy.
Yeah.
They need to start now. They can't start 5 years from now. And there is going to be a first mover advantage. There is going to be, companies need to rethink about how they do their business with quantum, maybe from an R&D perspective, how that could help drive R&D, from a go-to-market perspective, from a sales perspective, from a security perspective, cyber, the implications of that. So quantum was out there. It was being talked about.
That's good. Yeah, and that last part, the security part, is something we've heard a lot about in the last few years. I know it's in the quantum market landscape we have. You mentioned the consultancies. Those are my first love. So anybody stand out with respect to the IT services vendors or the consultancies, either in terms of their presence or what they were presenting and what they were saying?
Nothing's coming to mind. They were obviously at all the...
They were all there.
They were all there. They had a very big presence.
Yeah.
And they were busy.
Yeah.
I think one of the takeaways from my conversations with the consultancies is that M&A is going to be more prevalent, especially among the much smaller operators.
Yeah.
Be some more consolidation. There's also this idea about separation of the telco into infraco, netco, and a servco, and maybe how that might play out as we go forward. So looking at financial structure, change management, maybe some of that. How do you actually make it from a telco to a techco?
Right.
Which is a phrase that I heard quite a bit at the event. But how do you actually make that transition? There needs to be structural changes at the CSPs to enable that. So some of the thinking among the consultancies around how that might play out.
That's great for the consultancies because it's a strategic decision to move from a telco to a techco. And then once you make that decision, there's all of the follow-on change management that's got to go with it. And your comment about M&A dovetails beautifully with what we're hearing right now from the consultancies and an expectation of ramping up their M&A practices. So let's circle back to the telcos to wrap this up. You said you're worried. I think last time we spoke, you talked about existential threats. So Let's project it out. Let's project it out to this time in a year from now. What do you see as being the hurdles that they're going to need to overcome, and can they? Can they? Are we going to be having a very different conversation in a year, or is it going to be an extension of the telcos are in trouble?
I think we're seeing acceleration of the trouble, how that is going to play out. So the telcos are they make a big noise. They talk about the right things, but they're not actually doing those things. They're not doing them. They're underachieving. And it's a chronic underachievement. So when they talk about, oh yeah, we're moving to cloud native networks and we're transforming the network and everything, that's going to be a show me.
Yeah.
Because definitions of what cloud native actually is can vary quite significantly. Where they're at in their journey is subject to debate. And the amount of change in their organizations that needs to take place to actually start to behave differently, it's going to have to be a show me. And I'm concerned because I'm not seeing things. They talk a big game, but when you look and you peel back the layers of the operators and you look at where they're actually at, and some of the barriers that they have to still overcome, it's very concerning. And now we have higher cost of capital.
Yeah.
How do they pay for this stuff? How do they actually make it from point A to point B? And it's becoming a much harder chasm to cross.
So two questions then. Who's in the best position to help the operators change and begin to do the things that you want to see them do, the show me part of it? Then who's in a position to benefit if the trend line continues and they continue to be slow to make the adjustments they need to make and be slow to change and go from telcos to techcos and all that? Who benefits, but also who is best positioned to help them make those changes?
Yeah, so I think the CNSI companies and the hyperscalers are best able to help the telcos make that transition.
Right.
But I also see the ecosystem, the vendor ecosystem is hedging its bets. Just in case the telcos don't make it, how do those vendors continue to grow? How do they continue on?
Right.
And this is where you see private networks becoming much more topic of discussion.
Right.
And much more focus on that as a revenue driver.
And who benefits if private networks expand or grow faster than they have been in the past?
Well, the vendors would benefit the most. The telcos may benefit a bit, but not to the same extent that the vendors would.
Yeah.
And the CNSI companies obviously benefit from that. But the other entities that are hedging their bets is the hyperscalers.
Yeah.
Because the hyperscalers need to figure out, how do we make our next hundreds of billions of top line revenue?
Right.
Like, that's the magnitude that we're talking about.
How do they continue to be a hyperscaler? Right. Yeah.
And cloud's continuing to grow at a double-digit rate, but they need parabolic scale in new revenue-generating areas. And one of the big areas is going to be some of the things that the telcos talk about: network APIs and AI and intelligent networking. The hyperscalers are best able to actually take those technologies, those concepts, and actually turn that into new business models. Right. And if the telcos don't make this jump, there's going to be a reckoning in this industry. And the telcos' window for making that jump is continuing to narrow.
So continuing to narrow, a year from now, it's not a different story, just still the same sort of challenges? Or a year from now, we're talking about companies that have disappeared?
Yeah, I mean, there's going to be M&A. There's going to be some consolidation. This year, we've already seen some deals on the table among the vendors and the operators. Yeah. And we're only at early March.
Yeah.
But I think there needs to be a catalyst moment. And when I look at what's going on in the industry, the catalyst that I see is the next recession. Whenever that next recession comes, the governments are going to be hard-pressed to do what they've been doing, which is reduce the interest rates and start printing money and pushing it into the economy to kind of paper over the problem. They can't really do it this time, the next recession. They can do it, but not at the same magnitude. And the reason is they've let the inflation genie out of the bottle.
Yeah. Yep.
They printed so much money during COVID and pushed so much capital into the markets that it created inflation. And now they have to get rid of inflation. So now they have to raise rates. They have to not print as much money.
Yeah.
And I'm not just talking about...
No, it's an extra... I understand.
This is many countries
Many
are doing
countries,
this.
it's global. It's a global problem. It's not a U.S. problem. Yeah, 100% agree. Yeah, so that's painting a dire picture, but that's all right, because that's where we are right now, and that's okay, and we'll see where things are in the 6 months. And we'll
I do want to leave off with a few positive things about the telcos. So there are some telcos. I'm not going to name names on this, but there are a few telcos out there that I think will cross that chasm. It's not many. It's a short list.
Yeah, and
they're really doing things differently. I'll name one name: Reliance Jio.
Okay.
Keep an eye on them. They are able to make that transition. I would argue that they are already in process of doing that, where they're actually going to be a Telco, a digital service provider in the truest sense. Yeah. So keep an eye on them. The second thing that is positive for the telco industry is this fixed wireless access, which I thought I'd hear more about it at the event. But I don't know why the telcos continue to underestimate that technology. Yeah. Because when I look at the demand that's out there currently for that in a place like the US market, there is a very large portion of that market that is very well suited for FWA.
Ready for it.
Would be adopters of it.
Yeah.
And this is an opportunity especially for the wireless operators to take market share from fixed broadband providers. And we've already seen some of that market share shift over to the wireless guys, but I think we could see a lot more. Yeah. I think if the wireless-centric operators really get behind FWA, I think that could be a multi-billion-dollar top-line opportunity for individual operators. And we're already seeing some like T-Mobile today and Verizon are generating significant top line from that use case, and that is a 5G use case.
From fixed wireless asset.
From something like that.
Huh. All right, excellent. So that gives us something to chat about next time. So we'll, in a couple of months, let's get together and hear how Reliance Jio is doing. If anyone else is following with their strategy, following their approach. And then we'll talk about FWA, and we'll talk about whatever else we want to talk about. What's coming next from Mobile Congress next year. You said last time we chatted, you said there's smaller events, similar events, but that's the main one, right?
Barcelona's the main one.
Yes.
And GSMA also puts on a Mobile World Congress in China, in Africa, and in the US.
Okay. Are you going to the US one, or has it already happened?
No, I'm not.
No,
probably not going to that one.
Excellent. All right, Chris, thanks very much. We'll chat again. Thank you.
Thanks.
Next month, I'll be speaking with Chris Antlitz again, talking about the key intelligence questions we'll be getting over this coming month. Next week, I'll be speaking with Elitsa Bakalova, our Europe-based senior analyst, about her coverage of the IT services market. Don't forget to send us your key intelligence questions on business strategy, ecosystems, and management through the form in the show notes below. Visit tbri.com to learn how we help tech companies large and small answer these questions with the research, data, and analysis my guests bring to this conversation every week. Once again, I'm your host, Patrick Heffernan, Principal Analyst at TBR. Thank you for joining, and see you next week.